moved in 2007 with my family. The house always had an odd feeling about it, but my parents didn't notice. Once we moved in, we noticed that there were crucifixes hanging on a few doors and rooms. I found it odd, but thought nothing of it, assuming the previous owners were more religious. Things started occurring a month after moving in, with lights flickering, weird pinkish liquid leaking from the walls, shadows and voices being seen or heard by me or my sister. That house was terrifying, and I always wondered if anyone else living there after us experienced anything as well. I've seen this house go up for sale every 2 years. When I was younger, I used to live here. It was a very reading down building. There was many ghost or spirit encounters that I've had, but I'll start with the shadow man. It was a man who lived in the laundry room in the basement. He wouldn't really do anything to harm me, but would always relocate my mom's keys when I was in there. He was always there, standing, sitting, kneeling like he was crying, a really sad, trapped soul in there. Now, with the thing in my closet, I'm not sure what it was, but my closet door would always shake between the times 3:39 and 4:01 in the morning. Based on what people say, things or activities occur around 3 a.m. So, anyway, anytime I would check to see if I locked my cats inside, nothing would be there. The hallway cats, there were 3 little white fluffy cats with blue, brown and green eyes. They would hiss at me once in a while, but other than that, they would just make this screaming noise like an old baby and run away. Pearl, my best imaginary friend, she would make me laugh, we would cry together, we would go everywhere with me. Her brother, on the other hand, would play tricks and scare us. Now, this isn't necessarily a ghost story, but I remember when I was around 9, a man got beaten with a pipe on the back of the head in the parking lot. I grew up in this house between the ages of 9 to 18. The previous owners built the house in the 60s or 70s, and the wife sold the house to my parents after her husband died. Her husband was brother to the elderly couple who lived next door. Both brothers were men, obviously. Soon after we moved in, I overheard my mother whispering to her friend, saying he was found laying on the sunken deck by the pool. Then the friend gasped and my mother said, "Shh, I don't want to hear her freak out." We had lived there for a few months and my first experience happened. It was in the middle of the night. I woke up and rolled over to get out of the bed to use the bathroom. When I saw, clear as day, a man standing in the doorway. He was about 6 foot 6'3", had the build of an old man belly, white thinning hair, jeans and a black and white belted shirt. It was clear as day, a little bit see-through. Looking straight into my eyes, I freaked out, ran to my door and slammed it shut. I never slept with my door open after that, and still to this day I can't sleep without my blanket up over my ears. I tried to tell my mom about this the next morning, but she quickly brushed it off and said I was just so tired that I was saying things, but I'm sure I wasn't. Over the years that followed, I never seen the apparition again, but strange things happened. Between the ages of 11 to 14, I would wake up paralyzed and not be able to move. Most people call this sleep paralysis. My cat would hiss at nothing, then run away. This was a regular occurrence. My dogs would be laying with me in the basement's rec room and would suddenly jerk away, hair standing up and growling at something in the corner by the bookcase or behind the stone bar. I would even get up to calm my dogs down, saying things like, "See, there's nothing there." My dad had a computer room in the back storage areas of the basement where my dogs would stay into the further storage area, or they would get up and run out of the room. I would hear small movements coming from my dad's workbench behind me, but I would always mistake them for the house creaking or the furnace, or possibly a mouse. I always had a creepy feeling when going up the stairs from the basement, so I'd run the whole way up in a panic every time. Generally, there was always a feeling of being watched, mostly in the basement, but occasionally in my bedroom. They only were brave enough to go in the attic of my father. It wasn't until I was an adult and more aware of the paranormal that I started reflecting on these experiences and feeling and putting them together that I realized my childhood home was then and still in fact haunted by Mr. I've always wanted to know if the owners who have since lived in that house have had any kind of similar experiences. Yes, I estimate. This was my grandparents' house for many years. My great grandmother also lived there with them for quite a few years. I stayed during the school year months, as well as for about 2.5 years. I believe they bought it fairly new in the 1970s. I'm not sure what was on the property beforehand, if anything at all. The house has always been haunted. Apparitions of both my grandfather, mother, and a soldier had always been seen in the house. Mainly the upstairs hallway. It was uncomfortable in a being watched sense, but not malevolent. My great grandmother used to report smelling her deceased husband's pipe as well, which I've also experienced. My grandfather passed away on the property in 2006 of a heart attack in the driveway, and there was a noticeable uptick in activity. However, after a few years, my great grandmother also passed, not in the same home, a nursing home. She'd been there for a short time. And my grandmother decided to sell the house. I can't remember what year exactly. It's been a few years now for sure. After she came to this decision, the energy in the house noticeably shifted. Definitely something much heavier and darker. Lights would come on by themselves overnight. No wiring issues, nothing. We checked. And no one. And on one occasion, I saw a very tall shadow figure from outside in the upstairs bedroom window, facing the driveway. It appeared to be blocking out most of the light in the doorway, so at least possibly 6 feet. Though it could certainly have been my grandfather, who was a very large man. It still scared the heck out of me. I promptly left and never visited outside of daytimes ever again. As a final side note, they had 3 children, all of whom had some level of paranormal experience there, but especially their son, my uncle, the youngest of the 3 children.